sound of silos from 10 miles away. And there ain't nothing that the Pentagon can do. They can't make them go away.
From Maelstrom to Manhattan, Boston to LA, there are people asking questions and they will not go away. But what has been seen might not be what it seems. The government's shadows dance in the sea. From Maelstrom to Manhattan, New York to LA, you can't get the picture if they're pale or they're gray. But what we have seen might not be what it seems when the government's shadows dance in the sea.
You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. Well, James, what information do you have about our good buddy Jim Penniston?
Well, in 1980, during about a 2-day, 3-day period around Christmas time, 24th, 5th, and 6th, and this was in UK, Rendlesham Forest. It was there was an Air Force base there, American, and over this period there was a sighting of a UFO from different military folks, and the next day there was another sighting. Well, one of those days, Jim, he was a sergeant, him and another private, they went out to check this out into the woods. And when they're out there, he actually came upon a craft that was landed. It was on the ground, and he actually touched it. And some things came to his head when he touched it, and he's going to talk about those things. I don't want to get into too much detail about it, but that kind of gives you a gist of that. Now, also, this craft left indentations in the ground, and I believe there was some plaster cast taken of those. And there's a whole lot more going with this. There's been a lot of disinformation put out there by a lot of different people, and then, after this, he was brought aside a lot like, here we go with the patterns, a lot like Terry Lovelace. And, these people come in with the suits trying to talk to him and brainwash him, tell you, or whatever they do, you didn't see this, and you know how they do. And there's that whole scenario that went on also. Now, regarding what he's going to kind of talk about tonight, and these are his own words, 85% of the info in his new book has never even been heard before, Gary. Nobody's ever heard it. It's stuff that he's held close to his chest all these years. So he's going to talk about it. I heard some of that tonight. That's going to be exciting. People's never heard this stuff before. And so after nearly 40 years, he thought, what better person to come forward with this stuff than him himself, because he was there. There's no second party, third parties. It's him, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And that's what's going to be going on tonight when he tells us this stuff. And I'm really looking forward to it, because here's a guy that came across a craft in the woods at a military base during the Cold War, at the height of the Cold War. Now think about that. People talk about, well, they're not dangerous or something, or do you imagine if that would have set off the something that that we thought was the Russians or some other country? We could have started World War III there, and who knows who it was. Not saying it was aliens, but that's what it kind of that's what the theory is. And there's a lot going on there. So, and also within his book, almost 40 to 50%, almost close to it, of the pages in the book are from his endnotes. So this is stuff that has never been out there. He's never told before. Nobody's heard. So there's going to be information in that book, and some of he's going to talk about tonight. It's going to be very exciting and mind-blowing. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait till he gets on and we get it going.
Well, let's get him on right now. I'm going to try getting him on right now on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with me, Gary, your host, and my friend, James Chrisbaum. So let's get him on here on the line, and we will talk to him about it. Well, hi, Jim Penniston. How you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Well, I'm doing good. The first thing I want to say, thank you for all the years you served our country.
Hey, they paid me for it.
That's one way to look at it.
They did.
Yeah, but I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
You know, when I was in the service, about the same time frame, I can tell you what, pay wasn't that great. The only thing I remember good about when I was in basic training, that in our barracks we had a beer machine.
My God, you had luxuries like that?
Oh yeah, you put your quarter in or 50 cents, whatever it was. You got this can of white beer. It said beer on it.
When were you in basic?
That was back in about 1969.
Well, you must have done something wrong. They took the beer machines out.
Probably, because the next morning we all had hangovers, during basic training.
Oh, my God.
Well, Jim, I'm glad to have you on, and I pronounced your last name wrong, which is typical with me, is Penniston. And, I remember, Art Bell talking about, what happened to you back in those days. Art Bell was a friend of mine, and I tell you, stuff like this, he would call me up and say, hey, you need to check out this story about what Jim Penniston is saying.
The first radio interview I ever did, along with Colonel Hall and Colonel Williams, was with Art Bell.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, Oh, my God, I don't know. I think he was in Colorado. I'm not sure. I don't know where he was out of.
He was out of Pahrump, Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tell you one thing. Don't ever ride a Harley Davidson from the Seattle-Tacoma area to Reno to Las Vegas and go to Pahrump on the way. I tell you what, the Harleys are hot to begin with, and then on top of it, you're talking about 120-degree temperature. And then you get into Pahrump and you look at it and go, oh, my God, why anybody would want to live here? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the state.
No, I don't know. They have the least reports of UFOs of any state.
They got enough sky there, don't they?
They got plenty of it. But have you ever...
Well, they got Creech Air Station there. I mean, they fly 30,000 missions a month out of there with drones. I mean, they got to see something.
Oh, I don't know. It seems like when you go through, I'll be honest with you, when you go through Nevada, about the only thing you see is a military base, a military base, a military base, and another military base.
Right, exactly.
So anyway, why don't you tell the listeners, Jim, a little bit about yourself, when you went in the service, and then what you did in the service, and then how did you ever get into the UK, and what? Well, let's get into it.
Well, let's see. Well, you make me have to think back now. 1973, I was working for Honeywell, and I just got out of high school, and I said, there's got to be more than just working, at this factory. And so, Vietnam was winding down, and so I said, you know what, I think I'm going to go in the military and see a little bit, the world. And that's exactly what I did. I went to the military, Air Force. I was, yes.
No, I'm sorry. Is this my computer was malfunctioning? I had to turn one of them off. But go ahead.
Okay. And so in the middle of that, they had this is after basic training. We did our tech school. That's where security police was at the time at Lackland. And anyway, I did there was a recruiting team down there from Offutt Air Force Base, and that was for the Elite Guard at SAC. So they told me, you know what, you're the right height in that. Why don't you try to apply for that? And I said, okay. So I did. And I got orders after that to March Air Force Base. I just barely hit the ground at March. Wasn't there very long. And the SAC Elite Guard recruited me and accepted me for the recruitment there, which was special duty. And that's how I started my career with special duty. And that's where I got my top secret clearance as an airman. It was the SAC command post, 5 stories down, building 500. got to do presidential security and congressional, and we were also bodyguards for like 36 generals. It was a pretty interesting assignment. And I did that for about 2 years. And I decided I wanted to go ahead and start seeing the world. So I put in for several bases in Europe, and I put in for the UK. I got RAF Elkenbury. I went there. I did 2 years there. I came back to the States. I put back in for the UK, got it. I got RAF Bentwaters. And I was there for 4 years. And then on a number of other assignments, and lots of TDYs and everything around the world. I count any country I've been in more than a month. I count, in this figure, and I was in 26 countries, and so I did see the world.
Oh yeah.
But the most notable assignment happened to be at the time was RAF Bentwaters. So.
What? Okay, describe what did the base look like, and how big a base was it, and all that stuff.
Well, it's like when you get off the plane and you get the Bentwaters. It's like going back in time, like a time machine. I mean, it's like old World War II buildings that had Quonset huts, stuff like that, and they had modern facilities too. Bentwaters was located in Suffolk, England. It was about 60 miles northeast of London, and it was part of the twin base, which was RAF Woodbridge, which is 3 miles away as the crow flies. And the main operating base was Bentwater. That's where all the control centers were, the command element, things like that. And I think Woodbridge at that time only had 2 squadrons of A-10s. And they also had base housing over there. It was the height of the Cold War. Tensions were high. Those twin bases had over 10,000 active duty personnel and dependents there. Besides just the twin bases, they were responsible for 2 C3 facilities, and the C3 facilities communication. And one was at Rendlesham Heath, and the other one was a classified location. And we also had 4 forward operating locations that were in Germany. And I don't think I should start naming them because I don't know if I can say all 4 of them. Elhorn, Leipheim, Jever, and Hohn. Okay, those are the 4 bases. And what we would do in a case of war with the Warsaw Pact at the time, the Soviet Union, we would deploy the 6 squadrons of A-10s out of there. They're tank killers. They have Maverick missiles and stuff at the time, and they would confront the 5,000 Warsaw Pact tanks if they came across the Rhine, and ultimately you end a war that was on paper. So, but that's one of the things we planned for. Besides that, we had other peacetime missions that I'm not sure what is classified yet or not, so I'm not going to go into those. We also had, I'll talk a little bit about the C3 facility. That was Rendlesham Heath, and this is now declassified. It was top secret. They have there was a common nodal point, what it means they had all the communications from our listening posts throughout Europe. Would go through that funneling through that area, that one building, and so that was pretty significant. We also were not far from the ports, like Lowestoft and Ipswich and that. And one of the problems we had with that was Russian trawlers and ships that would come in shipping, and the people that were on those ships, some of them were, Soviet agents and stuff like that. So they were, in and around the area. So these are some of the things that brought the tension up. But we're not even talking about the terrorism.
No.
It was a different type of terrorism back then. I mean, we had the Irish Republican Army. We had Baader-Meinhof. We had Black September. We had the Red Brigade. We had all those type of terrorist organizations.